Ikuku too. When they arrived at the house, Ikuku shouted in amazement, "My in-law, this house is a paradise on earth." He moved around, nodding his head in surprise. His in-law and sister just smiled and told him to come inside and meet the kids. As soon as they entered, the kids were in the sitting room watching cartoons. "Mommy, Daddy," shouted the kids, running to their parents. The kids' nanny came and welcomed them too. "This is my brother Ikuku from the village," said Amoka. "So he is your uncle. Come and greet him." Ikuku was happy to see his little nieces. "How are you, my beautiful princesses?" he asked. "We are fine, uncle." "What about you?" the kids replied. "I'm fine too, my children. Let me go and refreshen up, then I will come and tell you stories." The children shouted, "Yay! We can't wait, uncle." The nanny showed Ikuku to his room. His in-law went to his room, picked out many clothes he was no longer using, and gave them to Ikuku, promising to get him new ones, as well as new shoes and slippers, by tomorrow. Ikuku thanked him and went to his room. When he finished freshening up, he came downstairs for dinner. They all ate swallow with egusi soup, and Ikuku was very happy because that was his favorite meal. After dinner, he called the kids to the sitting room for the story he had promised them. He told them the story of the lion and the little monkey, and also the story of the wicked lion and the pregnant goat. The kids were so excited and asked Ikuku to tell them more, but he promised to tell them a story about his village deity and Obina the rascal boy the next day. They were happy, thanked their uncle, and zoomed off to their room. Ikuku also went to his room, which was close to the kids' room. It was a midnight around 1 a.m. when the children ran into the living room, breathless and wide-eyed. "Mom! Dad! There's a lion in Uncle Ikuku's room," they exclaimed in unison. Their parents, Amoka and her husband, exchanged amused glances. "A lion?" Amoka asked, trying to suppress a smile. "Are you sure?" "Yes, Mom," the eldest insisted. "We heard it growling." With a curious yet skeptical expression, Amoka and her husband decided to investigate. As they approached Ikuku's door, they paused and listened closely. The only sound they heard was a deep, rhythmic snoring. The children, still convinced of the lion's presence, continued to insist, "Daddy, the lion is still in there." Amoka smiled knowingly. "Is that the sound you heard?" she asked. The kids nodded vigorously. Their father chuckled and gently opened the door a crack, just enough for the children to peek inside. There, sprawled on the bed, was Uncle Ikuku, fast asleep and snoring loudly. "See," their father said softly. "It's just Uncle Ikuku snoring." The youngest, puzzled, asked, "Daddy, maybe he needs a doctor." Amoka chuckled and shook her head. "No, dear. There are many reasons why people snore, and your uncle snoring doesn't need a doctor. It's just how he sleeps. Now, back to bed, everyone. Everything is under control." Reluctantly, the children returned to their rooms. The next morning, Ikuku woke up and joined the family in the living room. He greeted them cheerfully, "Good morning." "Good morning, Uncle Ikuku the Lion Man," the youngest daughter teased. Ikuku laughed heartily. "Lion Man, you say? Back in the village, they used to call me that too." His sister and brother-in-law laughed, and the eldest explained how they had thought there was a lion in his room. Ikuku, surprised, asked, "What made you think that?" Amoka's husband recounted how Ikuku's loud snoring had convinced the children that a lion was present. Ikuku laughed again and told the kids, "That snoring makes me your uncle." The room filled with laughter. Amoka's husband then suggested, "Ikuku, why don't you get dressed? I'll show you around the city." Within an hour, they were ready to go, but Ikuku was shivering in the cold weather, with snow lightly falling. Amoka handed him a big sweater, and they all set off. Their first stop was the zoo. When they arrived, Ikuku was reluctant to get out of the car, still feeling the chill. "Come on, brother," Amoka urged. "Walking around will warm you up." Reluctantly, Ikuku followed them. As they toured the zoo, they finally approached the lion enclosure. Before anyone could explain, Ikuku took one look at the lions and bolted, shouting, Odom. 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 Which means lion. 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 He ran straight to a security guard, pleading for help. There's a lion over there. The guard reassured him, the lions are secured and can't get out. Amoka arrived, slightly out of breath. Brother, do you want to get lost again? Why did you run off like that? Ikuku, still shaken, declared, I don't want to stay in London. I want to go back to the village. As he finished explaining, his in-law and the kids caught up with him. Uncle, we were looking for you, the eldest daughter said. Why did you run away? Ikuku, still determined, replied, I saw a lion, and I can't stay in London anymore. Despite their best efforts to reassure him, Ikuku remained resolute. Please, take him home.